Okay, yeah, let's get started. And as people come in, we'll just keep it rolling.
Well, I muted myself. Cool. Well, to keep it concise, I'll actually probably just run through my deck really quickly. Let me just pull that up. But just to introduce myself, my name is, hey everybody, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm presenting my MOKR today, which facilitated by Joshua. So I am working on launching a company called Landline. Landline is low-tech farm marketing, and I'm gonna run through my deck real quick just to kind of cover all the bases.
And I did open up screen share for you, so you're able
cool.
to do that.
Great. All right, share screen. Okay, Landline, low-tech farm marketing, empower local food economies with farmer-focused marketing solutions. First off, I'll start off with the team. Myself, TC, I have a 10-year background in early stage startups. I'm a 2-time Techstars finalist. Over that time and worked on a couple of funded projects. And before that, I got my start in, I will go ahead and say, unfortunately, banking. I was a VP of tech for a global trading product at Citigroup. So I kind of had a corporate background and then flipped over to this. And just for why do I care about this, chronic illness in my family led to an understanding of the challenges consumers face in knowing where one's food comes from. So there was this circumstance with chronic illness with my brother, my mother specifically, who got very sick. As a result of that, my dad actually became a doctor and a toxicologist. So I grew up with this hyper awareness of environmental health. And so always gone the extra mile to get fresh, local, healthy food. And so for me, this is kind of like after 10 years of working on other people's projects, switching around and working on something that I really care about and I feel personal too. I have a co-founder. Her name is Renata Kristen. She's currently managing grower relations for Row 7 Seeds. I don't know if you're familiar with Row 7. It's this guy, Dan Barber, who wrote the author of The Third Plate, who runs Stone Barns, which hosts lots of kind of ag stuff, and it's progressive and regenerative agriculture workshops and things happen at Stone Barns. And then also Blue Hill in New York City, which is a Michelin star restaurant. So she works for the seed company that that Dan Barber started, which is great. She has a really great network and is very well connected in ag communities, and it's been really great. I've been working full time on this. She continues to work her day job, but donates time. And also we also have a developer who's dedicated on the project, who's working about 25% time. So people like to ask how many FTEs, full-time equivalents are on the project. It's 1.5 across the three of us. So what's the problem we're trying to solve? Farmers can't reach the people. So over the last year, I grew up on summers on a family farm, but after a long time in New York City, sort of switched gears a little over a year ago, and had this kind of deep dive into the rural experience. In a lot of ways, spending time on farms, working on farms in North Carolina, Tennessee, Wisconsin. And now I'm in New Mexico in this barn, as you can see. And so yes, through that time, talking to farmers, surveying, doing qualitative interviews, and getting some kind of focus on how my skills can fit into this problem and what can be done. So yeah, first off, farms are struggling. If you look over, I wish I had this chart handy. Farmer net income since World War II is precipitously plummeted, and that is calculated by looking at how much is spent at market versus how much the farmer actually gets, and it's more or less scraped almost at zero for a couple decades now. You can't go to Farm Bureau's website if you go there once a week, you're guaranteed to see something about farmer bankruptcy. Low tech required. And so to kind of outline this, here I'm in rural New Mexico. I don't have phone service. And also just in generally speaking, there's rural areas as well as farmers have lower adoption rates, lower broadband. They're generally not technologists, and also not marketers. So something that'll fit into that. And marketing is challenging. Marketing takes time, and from the conversations and surveying we've done, it's clear that a lot of farms want help. So, and these are just a few recent news items to kind of back this up. It's super common for family farms to have somebody working off-site, so to speak, for benefits. So family farms are struggling with challenges: health insurance and childcare. And if anybody familiar with I know there's some non-US people here, but it's healthcare and childcare are big issues in the US, and how to cover those costs. It's another recent note, rural Americans still struggling to get access to the internet. And then lastly, going to have to adapt this for my own marketing materials. Lack of marketing skills and resources are one of the major problems that farmers face. So we'll continue on. So what's the solution? A low-tech marketing service. Last year, I started piloting a low-cost farmer-friendly solution to better connect farms to the buyers that love them. And just to kind of frame this a little bit, per the USDA numbers, the average farm that sells direct only does $21,000 a year in revenue. And I'll repeat that: only does $21,000 a year in revenue, which is a pittance. And on the scale, you frequently do not have a regular sales location, inventory, or hours that things are sold, yet these farms have highly loyal customers. So how can we connect these better? So results-oriented buyers are motivated, and farms that use our pilot see higher repeat customer rates and higher customer lifetime value. And so here's how our pilot works. This was running last year with a handful of farms. We're just now relaunching it. I'm actually about to go on tour north of here to Oregon to kind of to try to onboard farms back onto the system to do some broader analysis and do some case studies and that kind of things. And I'm very excited to be passing through Salt Lake, so maybe I'll see Joshua. But simple customer engagement. How it works from the outset is we do a basic keyword subscribe. A farm can text their keyword, and then Landline builds their database. And so you see in frame one, you have the customer at the farm stand. And then here we have the farmer in the field engaging their customer. Here, something simple. Out of our surveying, pretty much almost no farms that sell direct are doing any kind of direct marketing or in customer engagement with their existing customers. In fact, we see farms even like buying Facebook ads and stuff like that, but for whatever reason, they're not doing this, despite the fact that we know that there's like decades of Harvard Business School research showing that it's much cheaper to retain a customer than to get a new one. Anyway, so simple way for a farm to engage a customer. And then in our last frame, we see, look, the customers are coming back because they know what's happening, particularly with farms on a smaller scale. This is just where we're starting. So I'll just reemphasize this. There's a whole long roadmap that we're super excited about. Some of the first two features that we're turning on is number one is Spanish language translation. So Spanish farmers can text in Spanish. We'll actually have a human in an automated way, actually have a human go through and review these translations to make sure that it's grammatically correct. It's not just like a computer box kind of, and actually getting that message out in about 60 minutes. And so super excited to serve English as a second language communities in the US, starting with Spanish. We've also talked with some NGOs that support Hmong farmers in the Midwest. If you're not familiar with Hmong populations, they're war displaced refugees from the Vietnam War. There's a lot of them in the Midwest that, and these are people that frequently don't speak English, and their main source of income is selling fresh produce that they've grown. So so that's like another example of one of the opportunities that we're looking for from a public good perspective. And then also another important stat is that over half of all farms have a primary owner operator that's over 65 and over out of small farms in the US. Of the 2 million that are counted by the USDA, over half have owner operator over 65, and over half of those, the owner operator is over 75. And so landline, part of the homage is we're going to be turning on a voice mailbox, so that even if you have a rotary phone, you can call up and leave a voicemail. And using that same methodology of doing speech to text and a human edit, we're going to be enabling broadcasts out to your regular customers through just a phone call. And then there's a ton of other stuff, but I won't go into it. So how are we starting? Initial business model for this is, as you know, for our low cost, purpose oriented service, a free to start plan of up to 20 customers, 1 blast per month. Then if you pay $10 a month, you can have larger, 100 customers, 3 blasts a month. And then with various add-ons, 5 for 50 customers and $5 in additional blasts. I know this is the initial business model because it's only for the texting service. And again, like I said, we're going to be turning on a bunch of other features related to discoverability and for buyers access, which we're super excited about. And so here's our timeline. Pilot was launched last year. I got updated. I think it's Q3 now. So I still don't have pre-seed funding, but that is actually what this MOKR is about. And then looking to actually launch the paid service this quarter, which is still in the cards. And then after this, search optimized farmer profiles and Facebook integrations with a future nod to facilitating food distribution and leveraging some of this data that we're collecting about where farms are, what they're growing, and how many people they have. So this is kind of a very high level timeline for us. So current status, new pilot is under development. Actually, our new pilot is now live, and that's like as of today, basically, or yesterday. So super excited about that. The improvements that we're working on is self-service sign-up and payment, as well as the aforementioned features. And our use of funds is lean tech and balanced cost. That's pretty big for me, getting features out and having them tested. And so having the resources to properly do these iterations and not going super dev heavy, which is something that a lot of startups in this, or tech startups, have as a failure point. And so lastly, and this is actually what the MOKR is about, my MOKR is working on raising these funds for this pre-seed for my go-to-market launch. I think when we first spoke, it was 500K. I've actually recently revised this to 250K, which I think was actually a really good idea because I almost immediately got 35K in commitments, and I'm looking for a lead investor to help me push the round through, and that will just enable lots of things for bringing this to market and bringing the vision that Landline sees of empowering local food economies to life. So yeah, that's my deck. Should I take a breath and see if anybody has any questions before we go into the MOKR, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's have you take a breath, and we'll do the way that we're going to do introductions for today, because typically we do what's something we're excited about in our own business. After TC's presentation here, what is something you are excited about that you just heard from TC's presentation, and maybe a resource or something that you could, it could be a word of encouragement, a connection that you might have. He's looking for funding, so there might be a connection that you have there, or anything that you feel could add to TC's work here. I'll start it off. TC, I am really excited about, and it's something that's coming up in conversation more and more, that people are wanting to build out greater local food systems, the food to fork model, and the businesses around that. And I'm really excited to see another entrepreneur really working hard on that. So I'm glad to see that. And how I hope to help you in this process is really giving you space and keeping you moving and held accountable to this project that you're taking on for the next 3 months. So I'm going to keep you accountable. I'm going to keep following up with you, and keep knowing where your markers are at, and then hopefully bring in resources, connections, and those sorts. I was hoping a few others would show up today. I know a lot of the investor type are busy, and so it's kind of hard to get them in a group meeting like this. But definitely want to introduce you to a few people that I've been speaking with that I think would align with what you're doing. So I'm going to popcorn it. I'm going to popcorn it over to MP because it's been a little bit since we've seen you and heard from you, and I love having you in this space.
Thanks. Am I supposed to introduce myself? I can't. Or are we asking questions?
Yeah. Introduce yourself and just say what you're excited about with TC's project and maybe a way that you can help, MP.
Hi, I'm MP and the founder of an organization called Reef Farmers, and we do small scale, community-based permaculture type projects in East Africa and here on the Coast Salish territories where I'm located in Vancouver, British Columbia. And yeah, this is so interesting because I'm connected with lots of small scale farmers, and yeah, I'm just wondering, I don't know how I can help at the moment, but just wondering if there are have you done research to see, like, are there any other businesses like this already? Like, I feel like there might be similar, but not exactly. I mean, how is this different?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly gone around and looked through as many as I can, as many as I'm aware of, and continue to go and seek out. I think what's really interesting about the kind of like SaaS marketplace or SaaS offerings for small farms is that they really tend to not focus specifically into this customer engagement piece. And to me, I feel like that's the part that's really missing. And there are a lot of farm management systems and solutions. But from what I've seen and from the feature set, this specific thing that I'm trying to take a deep dive into is sort of skipped over. Like it's like a line item, not what the product is. And I think it's interesting. You see, from my perspective, what I've seen in both policy and academic perspective, there's a bunch of interest into bridging small farms to the wholesale market, and the general attitude when I ask questions is, well, actually teaching small farms how to be direct to consumer businesses is just too hard. So how can we help the stuff come out of the ground? But then that ends up just propping up the industrial food system that we have. And herein lies the fundamental issue. So I think that the challenge that Landline wants to take on is, how do we help people get into farming, be profitable at farming, and what are the tools needed? And so those are the specific questions that we're asking. There are a lot of tools that specifically do this customer engagement piece, but we just don't see a lot of people using them, especially in ag. So I feel like there's a space to target systems like this that are tailored for ag. And so that's so that's what we're doing.
Thanks.
It is actually a big business in a lot of areas. The text marketing and the user interaction that way in a lot of industries. So yeah, MP, go ahead and popcorn it over to someone else.
Arati.
Hi, it's RT. Yeah, don't worry. I think this is a really awesome idea. People ask me sometimes, like, what can the individual person do in order to reduce their carbon emissions and have an impact on climate change? And one of the things I like to tell them is, like, shop local, go to your local farmer's market rather than go to, big box stores where you have no idea where the produce came from. If you go to your local farmer's market every week, and actually, interact, that your money's going directly to the farmer, and the produce is so much better and has traveled less, and that's amazing. And so it would be amazing if, you were able to have your, like, favorite fresh produce stand has a little, like, text number when you first enter their little stall, that you could follow them and see where they're going and what they're doing. I think that's a great idea. I can introduce myself. I'm a founder of a company called Carbonix, and we make communications material. I'm focused on science communications in particular. My background, I have a PhD in biomedical sciences, and I've been making whiteboard and illustrated videos for years for startups and advocacy groups and academic researchers, anyone who needs to get their message out there to connect with investors and politicians and, you know, whatever your general consumer audience is. And I think, you know, having a colorful illustrated video is a great way to connect with your audience without being intimidating, and also share some really great scientific knowledge and help them learn and empower them to make the right decisions when it comes to climate change. So I guess that's kind of what I'm bringing to the table. If you or any of the farmers that you work with or any of your clients ever need something like that, you know, let us know. Oh yeah, you can either, I can drop my website maybe in the chat, and then you can either send me a message through there or email me. I can drop both in the chat.
Thanks, RT.
And I don't know, should I popcorn it over to somebody?
Yeah, that'd be great.
What about Carrie?
Hello. It's nice to meet you all. Joshua, thank you so much for having me tonight. This is really cool. I am really excited about your presentation. I think is your name TC? I can't see all the names.
Yeah,
on there, but,
Thomas, but I go by TC.
TC. Yeah, I live in rural Ohio, and we have a lot of farms here, and we have a lot of very frustrated farmers here. And I have a couple of questions for you. I think you have a great idea. I think that especially in areas like this where we don't have good internet, and you know, a lot of the farmers are just kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do? I think that it's great that you have that service. I think it could be really helpful. My question to you would be, how are you going to, since you know your demographic, how are you going to make sure that your farmers are going to be able to make the most of this service and get a good ROI? I'm sure a lot of them don't have that much marketing experience. They can put up a little sign, oh, we have a little sale. But, you know, is there something else that you can do to make sure that they are educated on how to make things more engaging for people? Or is that not really what you're after?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think this is it's all part of it. As far as immediate steps from a product perspective, we're going to be sending out little notices. So the way that it works right now is the pilot is totally free. So anybody that signs up right now will have the product or have access to the service for free for life for what the base plan is now. But so so we only allow people to send out every 7 days. And so one thing that's on the roadmap is to just do a little ping. It's like when it's been 7 days to be like, hey, you haven't been in touch with your customers. Why don't you? And there's things that we specifically know from talking to consumers, especially on the small scale, like letting your buyers know that you're not going to be at market, for example, is just as important as letting them know that you are going to be at market. Oh, I'm going to skip this week. The herbs that I regularly carry, I don't have in, or we have some art that we have a couple pints of peaches or something, something special, whatever the thing is that the draw is. And so suggesting these types of things that we've been validating as far from looking at our customer profiles is definitely part of the plan. And then secondarily, one thing that we've been doing this whole time is having discussions and conversations with various NGOs that support farmers. And I see a big part of what Landline does is going to be producing content. We've already had inbound from different groups asking us to do kind of like panel style things on marketing best practices. And I think that stretches all the way back to like, how do I farm? There's this whole kind of list of things from I don't know, soup to nuts comes to mind, but from A to Z, as far as what these levels that we can come in and facilitate farming and facilitate the use of the product.
And the reason I asked this, sorry for my dog, my significant other just got home. The reason I ask is because I used to sell ads for the newspaper, and people would say all the time, well, I advertise, but I don't see any results. So I don't know if I want to advertise again. And I would have to convince them of why it was important. And, they couldn't tell who was coming in because of the ads and who wasn't. So that's just kind of why I ask, is there something in particular that they could say, oh, if you heard it on such and such on your landline, then you get a special discount or something like that. And that way they'll know that it came through you, and so that they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah, for sure. Attribution in any marketing campaign is hugely important. And on this side, I mean, I think from the data that I've seen so far in the kind of like user studies that we've been, or use cases that we've been, that the benefit is there. And I think that's a big reason why we're offering like a free to start situation, so that somebody can get it and see if there's some kind of measurable impact. But yeah, I absolutely agree, and encouraging those kinds of attribution style cycles so that it can be accounted that, oh, I got this because I got the text, or whatever. And it won't always be text. That's where we're starting. We're the foundation we're laying is supposed to be for the largest number of farmers, and then at some point we'll have an app, and it can plug in too, and the customer can have an app, and so that the customer can just have an app and have their landline farms in it and all this kind of stuff. So there's a million different ways that this thing can evolve.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for the
And
question.
Gary, just popcorn it over to someone to introduce themselves and what they enjoyed about TC's work and any feedback that they have.
The next person on my screen is Ethan, and that's all I can see. So Ethan.
Ethan, you're up. He might be switching out his tire. We'll give him just a second because he's going cross country or moving around on his bike, changing out his bike.
That's awesome.
We'll give Ethan a moment, another opportunity here in a little bit. But Ray, do you want to go?
Sure thing. Excellent. So thanks for the presentation. And I think you and I have spoken before, so I already knew a little bit more about what the business is. And for everyone in the room, my name's Regen Ray. I'm from Farming Secrets and the Soil Learning Center. So we focus on education and helping people have those aha moments about how powerful and alive our soils are. And so I think coming from the tech startup, I've never gone through investing or gotten any seed funding or anything like that. So I feel like this is new territory for me as well. But I think my brain and what I think you did a good job at highlighting is the fact that maybe the world I live in with like apps and tech and push notifications and 4G, 5G and this whole instant gratification to access technology isn't the same from where you are. And so when you mentioned the whole thing of like rotary phones and leaving a voicemail, that really like changed the pace of where my mind was thinking, because I almost kind of thought, are you thinking too small? And so my feedback was like, maybe tell that story first and like put the investor or us into that position. Like you wake up, you want to know where food can be accessed for, but you've got no 4G. The only thing you've got is your rotary phone, and show like what a rotary phone is. Because I think some people, especially some of the younger investors, might not actually know that, and be like, that's the problem we solve. We're not, I don't know. I just kind of got that aha moment when you were presenting going, fuck, this is not about like, solving the whole paddock to plate problem is there, but this is another level. Like this is access to information, access to connectivity. And I come from a maybe privileged part of the world where everything, you complain when 4G is slow, not that you don't have it, so maybe bringing that to the start of the conversation, just to put the investors and listeners into that feeling of like, we don't all have and come from the same world. And how do I help enable people with rotary phones to get access to this service that was like what really kind of stood out for me. So my advice before hearing that was like, maybe think bigger. And then I thought, you know, you're talking about texting and all that. In my world, I'm like, that feels so far behind. But that's because I was just disconnected to the reality. So thanks for highlighting that. And that was my kind of thoughts, is maybe tell a story at the start and bring people into that emotional feeling to go, God, how frustrating would it be if a rotary phone and a voicemail was my only way of connecting to where food was going to be this week? Like, that's super powerful. So, and more of an emotional roller coaster of understanding. So, yeah, so I think, yeah, that's, you know, yeah, awesome work, and happy to keep vibing different tips and so forth. And that was kind of what stood out for me. I will popcorn over to Manny, if you're online and available. Some people are AFK.
Hey,
oh yeah, Manny, there we go.
Yeah, I'm kind of passively listening, so I'm not gonna contribute that much. Apologies, everyone. I'm just taking in what's going on.
Hey, thanks, Manny. And thanks for joining us in whatever capacity you're available at this moment. Robert, are you available? We do have some people AFK. I know Joe, you're here on the side if you're available to chat. I know you missed the presentation, but just from what you've listened, any feedback or thoughts that you want to share, and an introduction of yourself as well.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I'm very interested about the marketplace platforms. In fact, I am with an organization called Samara, and they are quite searching for this options. And yeah, I'm involved with seeds, so it's very interesting, this decentralized movement and the applications that we are searching to help these local pilots that we call, that want to really get to ground people that are doing the regenerative movement. And hey, Ray, nice. We are nice. And yeah, I'm here in Brazil. Nice to meet you all.
Wonderful, thanks, Joe. You know, I was just thinking, as we kind of saw Carrie kind of bring up her conversation, but we also know that she's having lower bandwidth because she's more in a rural area. It just kind of hit home a little bit more. I was noticing, and I lived in Montana for a little while, and that was one of the biggest things on our property that we decided that we needed was communication. And coming from a city, moving into a very rural area, I got line of sight of a WiMAX tower and was able to get good reception. But everybody else had to come to my property, and they called it 4-bar or 4G hill because of that area. And so you would see farmers coming up to text their wife or to tell them where they're going on our hill, and it's a very big thing, right? If you look at the rural areas. And I'm just noticing, you know, other countries, this has some great potential and working in as well. And you know, I've had a chat today with someone from Africa, and I've had a couple conversations this week from people in Central and South America, and all have challenges this way. So I think it's a very open and has a great market. The price point obviously has to be open enough for people to get in. So it has to be more of a mass scale, is what I'm potentially seeing for this, right? You really have to get this out with a lot of people and get it out in a lot of demographics is the potential that I see for it to be able to be worth an investor's time and to be worth probably your time in the long run as well, on the margins and whatnot. And again, there is the potential for additional services, and I know we've talked about that with you as well, TC. Joe, you raised your hand. Did you have something else to share?
Yeah, I want to ask if this platform that was shown it's already in I don't know in English. Sorry, it's available. It's already available.
Yeah, it is in the U.S. And I'm actually just about to go on a road show from here through a number of farmers markets this weekend, and trying to get for our relaunch of this service, which has just happened, getting really getting those early users on and start some feedback cycles. I think we're probably looking at capping it. I don't know what the number of subscribers will be or farmers will be, 50 or 100 or something like that. But we want to start slow and steady and make sure that we're giving good attention to the people that we're bringing on and identifying pain points and fixing things up and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, the plan is to bring on that, but eventually we're absolutely planning on doing launching it in other countries, but for right now it's just in the US.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, TC. Anybody else that didn't have a chance to, maybe they were AFK at the moment, Robert, Manny, or Ethan, if you're listening to this and want to chime in, introduce yourself and share something with TC on helping him to move his project forward. If we're at the point where we can move on, TC, I would say let's kick off your project. Let's give just a second for Ethan, Manny, or Robert to chime in, and then we'll get into your MOKR.
Hey guys, I got low bandwidth, so I'm not doing video, but yeah, interested to find out more about your marketing idea. I'm a small farmer with experience. I'm not currently farming at the moment. I relocated a little further north. I'm in Northern California, but I did grow organic food on the Central Coast for 5 years, diverse crop profiles over there, everything from berries to lettuce to broccoli and stuff like that. And I'm up here now, and water is kind of more of an issue up here, and access to land. So I'm trying to do a little feasibility. I have some options on some leases, potentially small leases, and I'm trying to grow a local customer base. So yeah, I'd love to hear more from you guys and what you guys are doing. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thanks, Robert. We'll let Manny and Ethan chime in at any point. But yeah, TC, take it away with your MOKR and what you're going to be working on for the next 3 months.
Yeah, sure. And also, Robert, as a farmer, I'd love to hear more specifics if you think that, for example, if you're selling direct, if this is something we'd use. I have a survey that I'm circulate to farmers. If you had a minute to fill it out, I realize you're not growing actively, and also just kind of curious if you're, now that you're in NorCal and seeing the water rights issues or water and land issues, if you're thinking about somewhere else, those are all kind of follow up that we could take offline if you want, but just throw it out that I'm curious.
Thank you so much, TC. Yeah, I basically until I go gangbusters on growing, because I'm pretty good at it. I want to make sure that I have a really good target market, and it may be at first just hitting a few of the grocery stores and then filling in, and maybe doing 1 or 2 crops of a bunch of the same thing so that they get that item from me. I do eggs right now, so I'm locally looking for egg outlets. We're producing more than we're selling, so. But yeah, it's just a little bit. Thank you so much again.
Cool. So yeah, I'll go and share my MOKR. And so here's my template. it's in my format, not yours, Josh. I'm sorry, but I copied it over.
That's what that works.
So Landline, again, offers agricultural marketplace services that promote equitable local food systems and regenerative agricultural practices. My MOKR for Q3 of 2021 follows. My mission mantra, and this is in the seeds of DAO style or that I'm following here. So Landline is committed to maintaining unwavering faith that we will raise capital by September 7th, 2021 to bring the vision of resilient. Oh, I think I don't have the date updated because it was before. Sorry, excuse me. I don't remember if there's 30 or 31. September 30th, 2021, to bring the vision of resilient local food systems to the world. Landline will put forth extraordinary effort until we do, no matter what, there's no other option. And so during the next 3 months, we will, and I set the metric to raising 100K. This was also set when I originally had a 500K ask, which I've now revised down to 250. And it feels really funny to talk about money on this in this whole forum, but it's very much, I think, for a more effective go-to-market and trying to make a difference. I think that it's kind of paramount, for lack of a better word. And so for our lag metrics, we have improve our teaser, presentation deck, and revenue model. These are materials that I've spent countless amounts of time on, and they will always be a work in progress. And so as I get feedback from different investors, I do input that, much like I've lowered my raise. Document outreach strategy, build database of 30 potential investment contacts across impact, ag tech, and possible industry partners. So we're working on that. And then contacting these investors. For key results, for lead metrics, give 10 pitch presentations. So, the process of identifying where, where, how to do those presentations, identify who those people are, solicit feedback, integrate feedback. Just like I said, the materials surrounding this are work in progress, as is the product and project, and we have a mission that we're trying to accomplish. So all the things that come together, and then contacting 30 investors. And so out of this list of investors, actually, through warm or cold intros, just getting out there and trying to shop around, and then outline what our communication would be to those investors, get feedback on the copy, iterate, do a better job, and so that's one thing that we're preparing to do, which is part of this MOKR, is to put in a couple of these final iterations, or quote unquote final iterations on the investment materials before we do this blast, which is going to be its own work effort to improve a couple of key things, particularly I think I mentioned on a previous Seeds of DAO, my go-to-market outline, or no, I'm sorry, that my total addressable market, which is unfortunately, it's this, I'm saying unfortunately, but it's reality. When you present this stuff to investors, they do a couple back of the napkin calculations to figure out how big the market is, and a lot of times we'll make judgments based off that. And then lastly, attend 12 pitch events, identify the pitch events and do it, and that will be very similar to my teaser is more or less what a good part of that pitch. So that's what that will be. And so that is my MOKR for Q3 of 2021.
Wonderful. This is fun. So I'll open it up to the floor for general questions or how you might be able to help TC in his efforts for this raise. So let's open it up, and then I'd love to start a conversation on what you think, TC, the big challenges are for you in accomplishing this, so that we can mastermind that together as well.
I am always up to look at any kind of presentation materials or websites or whatever that anyone has for feedback, because I've helped several people with quite a few things. I've had a lot of marketing training over the last year, so just throwing that out there.
Awesome.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Carrie. TC, does anybody else have any comments on the MOKR? And then if not, let's get into challenges, TC, that you think you're going to run into or you currently are running into. You can mastermind those.
My only thoughts, TC, is in the presentation you said 250K in your MOKR, 100K. Like, yeah, I'm a bit confused about the money, and you also mentioned before that you already got 35K. So is that included in the 100K target?
Yeah, so I have a raise. I originally had a raise open or articulated for 500K. I set the MOKR to be $100,000 of that raise, so 1/5. And so, and actually, I still feel. I mean, it's a conservative. I think it's. I feel like at present it feels like a conservative number. So maybe it could go up, but but still a lot remains to be seen. I don't have 35K invested. I have commitments of 35K with finding a lead investor. So unless I find a lead investor, it's actually zero. And so that's how that structure and that works. I mean, I guess the big thing will be just finding that lead investor that's down to write a check in support of Landline.
Awesome.
Robert says, check in with Slow Money for the pitch events. Have you checked in with Slow Money at all?
Yeah, I did actually. Remind me his name. Or he's been on the last couple of these. I'm just blocking on his name. SF based.
Klaus?
No, younger. Who works with Slow Money. I can look
yes.
it up. He actually suggested that I pitch it slow. Yeah, Kyle. He actually suggested that I would pitch it. Kyle suggested I pitch it Slow Money. I sent him an email and I haven't heard back, so I need to ping him again. So yeah, I don't know, some long form tag with our communications so far.
Yeah,
but I'm down.
So that is something that's been brought up times. Ethan, you're back. You have any thoughts? Something to say here? He's got his tire on. Awesome.
He's got a new tire. He's got some tread. Oh, you're muted, Ethan.
Yep, you're muted.
Nobody around here had the tools to do it. And this one dude that was coming to buy stuff said his house is 4 miles away and he'd go get tools for me. Ran, grabbed the tools. We changed the tire in like 5 minutes.
Awesome.
Love Tennessee. I've been listening the whole time, trying to comprehend what's going on. And it's exciting to hear you guys talk about Slow Money, number one, and then number two, talking about finding capital, which is one of the pieces that these regenpreneurs are really struggling with. Is not because the capital's there. It's literally just making sure that the business plan and the proof of return is there, and then the capital should flow pretty easily. So it's exciting to listen to you guys and kind of understand how you guys are approaching it, because I'm navigating some of the waters too. I talked to Josh a few months ago about this mushroom farm that I've been working on, and that's now that we've had a few conversations with local colleges and validated some of these business plans and models. Now money's available, and now it's just making sure that we choose the right person to take it from and to use. So
yeah, I think it's an important lesson, Ethan, to share, as well as when we get that money, is it the right type of money?
Certainly.
So what does it come with, right?
Exactly. It's to come with somebody watching over your back. Does it come with a return that you're not able to provide? Like, that's why that business model and like financial planning makes sense too, because then you don't get stuck in a hole where somebody take your business away from you, or you're owe an arm and a leg to somebody. And that comes with structuring the business, right? Like not forming as an LLC, but having enough partners that you can form as an S corporation. That way you're not liable for that money as an individual. Your corporation is its own entity and is liable for that money instead of you as a person. So yeah, it's a little navigating the legal frameworks.
Yeah, definitely. I think TC, you're pretty knowledgeable in that area, but I'm curious to know what challenges you're perceiving right now, and let's talk about that. Let's work through those challenges.
Yeah, for sure. Well, time is a big one, at least at this moment. That's what I'm feeling the most, especially but it's actually a really exciting time. So this challenge is a blessing. I've been bootstrapping this project for over a year, traveling around, doing all, working on it, pushing it forward. And the fact that I actually have my first investor commitments, my service is actually relaunched. The wind is at my back. Like, this is all really great stuff to have. And so, how do I go back and forth between because trying to raise money is almost like a full-time job. I mean, I have to do lots of, I'm glad that it doesn't seem like there's any direct investors here. So I could be, well, it's recorded. I don't know. It takes a lot of time and energy to put on my white shirt. This is my presentation white shirt, by the way. I've worn it for a total of maybe 3 hours. But to do this stuff and go through this and put the project out there and get that feedback and ask lots of hard questions, and I have to do that over and over again, and I have to do it a bunch of times a week. And that's how I got to where I am now. And I'm still not there. So I have a lot more of doing that, along with trying to actually launch a service, acknowledge that I'm providing value to farmers, getting feedback from this. And so now there's this whole other thing that's about to open up with actually running a live service, and what's going to be involved in that. And it's uncertain how much time that will take, because it might end up taking a bunch of time as we try to also grow and build it. And I'm still but one person.
So time being a piece of this management of that time. Any comments here? As I know, a solopreneur myself, there's so many things that you can be doing, and so you got to be really on top of what metrics you're tracking and what you're spending that time on. If you can. I would say, as you're trying to figure out the best way to utilize your time, track what you're spending your time on, especially if you're getting the hours in front of people. Like, how many hours did you spend, presenting? How many hours did you spend writing those reports and getting in, calling people, the number of people that you called, and seeing what your optimal level is, right? Before you reach burnouts, before, you might be able to get all your calls done at a certain time, and then be able to work on things. And that just kind of helps you, if you're tracking the data, to understand how efficient you are and how inefficient you are through this process. Ray, you're unmuted. Did you want to say something there?
I know I must have just stayed on mute from before. Apologies about that. But I would just treat. The only thing I was thinking about was to treat your billable time. So if you spend time on the project, that's kind of sweat equity, and I think a lot of investors really value how much sweat equity you're putting in, and tracking that enables to tell a better story and say, yeah. So I think sometimes we can all fall into this trap of it's my project. It's I'm thinking about it 24/7, and we don't actually value our time that we spend on a project as sweat equity and building it. So yeah, that was just something that was floating in my mind.
Thanks. And that's something that I was doing a lot last year and last fall, and I totally stopped doing over the winter.
yeah, skin in the game was the word that I was thinking of that slipped my mind. And there's tools like, I don't know if you're using Toggle or things like that, where there's tools that you can install. You just hit a button, starts tracking, you can log it to a particular project, and then you can generate a report. It's never to like say, oh, well, now I want to be owed this back. But it's just like, you know, this is a project that I've put 700 hours towards. You know, it shows resilience, commitment, things like that. You know, it tells a story that's quantifiable rather than you just saying it on a slide.
Yeah, I agree. Tracking your time, tracking your efforts in almost any degree. Time is a huge piece to really truly understanding. I don't think it's necessary for all businesses or all entrepreneurs to be so anal about tracking their time, but I think more especially when you're doing a big sprint towards something, or you're having these really focused periods to really understand where you're spending your time. I just track my time every single day. As an entrepreneur, I found that if I'm at a certain amount of hours, I know that I'm accomplishing a certain level to my business. And if I'm over a certain amount of hours, I know I'm not as efficient. And I've just understood that because I've tracked my time over and over. And I know that if I'm hitting a 60-hour week, I'm really not that effective at that point. But I know if I'm not hitting a certain amount, or if I'm not hitting a certain amount in a certain area of my business, it really does flounder, and I'm not as effective. I don't move things as forward in the right way. And in fact, if you, I'm trying to pull it up myself, actually, because I thought I had it up earlier, your MOKR document. Would you be willing, TC, to, and we've tried this in the past, but I think your goal is a good one for this, to be able to track your stuff and report with this group on your stuff. If you're willing to track your efforts, we would love to kind of get that feedback, hold you accountable to kind of where you're at, and see, is that an optimum number for you a week to get this many calls, or is it too much, or is it too little? Those types of things, and kind of help you weed through that from week to week. Do you think that'd be something that's would be helpful to you as you go through this process?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to report in on my lag metrics as that. I felt like that was something that I would probably do through the process. Another thing too, just in reference to what Ethan mentioned, as far as like the journey of a regenpreneur and how to raise funding for their projects, is I would love to go through, or it may be useful to some people if I went through my revenue model that I built and show how it works and show what I had to articulate, because that's a pretty big part of doing the raise, is like being able to quickly articulate your break-even point and your average revenue per customer. In my case, I'm doing a SaaS business, but that would translate into lots of other stuff. So as far as for other people that are going on the same journey as me of trying to raise funding for a project, the revenue model is both a hard part and a complicated part that I've spent countless hours on. So I'll just throw that out there as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested in learning more about it. I think it'd be helpful for us to learn, as well as helpful for you to be able to explain that and get some practice on it. I do want to welcome Mike into the room. Just saw him pop in. It's good to see you. It's been a little bit since we last spoke, but it's good to have you. If you want to spend just a moment to introduce yourself, TC is giving a presentation on his project right now. It's a local, well, it's a low-tech farm. Now this is me trying to explain the business. Low-tech farm marketing solution that's helping farmers get better customer data and provide customer engagement software and tool. TC, you can give a better explanation as we kind of talk, but Mike, please introduce yourself and share if you've listened to any of this and taken away something that would be helpful to the conversation.
I just joined a little while ago, right in the middle of the conversation. I'm Mike Garcia, 40-year landscape contractor. Back when I started landscaping back in the 70s, we were actually replacing galvanized pipes. That's what we had back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. That's what they were using for irrigation. So yeah, got my degree in ornamental horticulture. And then I found out about permaculture and just went nuts over it. So I'm right now, our company is mostly doing designing food forest, rainwater harvesting systems, aeroponic, aquaponic systems for high-end custom residential, right around the Los Angeles airport area, a little town called Manhattan Beach, a lot of money there. So that's kind of the nutshell. We did create a farm in this food desert of South Central Los Angeles. What's unique about it is it's a soil garden, grows fresh fruits and vegetables, but it actually recycles and reuses the same water over and over again. May not be a big deal if you live in an area of the world where you have a lot of rain, but in Los Angeles, where drought just dominates, everything, it's a pretty big deal. So created a food forest in the desert of Los Angeles. It was actually in the front page of the LA Times about 3 weeks ago. So, and then, yeah. So anyway, those are some of the things we're working on, but aeroponics, aquaponics systems, stuff like that. So anyway, that's me. If you have any questions on any of that, feel free to ask me.
MP.
Let me see, my Facebook page, I put pretty much everything. If you're not on Facebook, get on there, and it's like a news ticker for all the stuff we're doing. But don't look at my Enviroscape page. There's the company Enviroscape. Go to on Facebook, look at Mike Garcia Enviroscape, and then my personal page. That's actually like a news ticker for all the stuff that we're doing. And then on YouTube, I have a channel, Enviroscape LA. So I post a lot of videos for do-it-yourselfers on how to create rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge, food forests, that type of stuff. So
cool. Looks like MP got that. But if you have a moment to share the article just in chat, that would be helpful as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
TC, let's dive into that revenue model and talk about it. Show us.
Oh, you want to do it now? Oh, I was thinking as like a separate session.
Okay.
Well, in the future, yeah. I mean, I could. I don't know. I guess, but I might actually defer on that because it's pretty heavy to just kind of go through and talk about this stuff, especially if somebody's interested in it. I was just thinking that if that was something that if we wanted to do a check-in over the coming 3 months, that would be an idea. Because if people are interested, have questions, it could take more time. But I guess what I will say is just from, just to reiterate with the metrics that I have, I'm looking to give 10 pitch presentations. That offhand, that feels like low hanging fruit, but I don't know how it's 3 months, 3 times 4, 12. No, that's probably reasonable. I will have to try to make sure I do approximately 1 a week with two buys. Carrie, of course, I'd love to take you up on your offer. That could be one of my pitch presentations for that. But yeah, for hitting these metrics, I mean, I think that would be anybody here would be super helpful. I'm looking for just to give and refine my pitch, especially if people are familiar with this style of pitch. There's almost like the gold standard Guy Kawasaki's 10 slides that need to be in a startup deck. That's what I based my long form presentation on, and that's also what most investors in the space that I'm soliciting, I'm not going for grants. I'm going for kind of, more kind of classical, like, startup model tech, Delaware C Corp, this type thing. That's what a lot of people that are looking at that are following. So anybody that's familiar with that space that would give me feedback, that's one thing that would help a lot. Then contacting these investors, I have this, work. The plan is my materials are really good, but go this kind of last mile to, that I have a number of feedback items that I know that I should take the time to integrate, improvements to my revenue model, improvements to some of the slides. And then at that point, go and do more or less like a larger blast of sending this out to a list of investors. So if anybody knows investors in the impact, ag tech, angel investment, or ESG space, those are the types of people that I'm looking for intros, or just their contact info and maybe a timed intro, because ideally I will kind of do a bunch of this outreach in one blast, if I can speak. And then lastly, the pitch events. I know Slow Money was mentioned. I will totally follow up with Kyle. I think I hope he'll come through or with that. But yeah, if anybody else has any ideas for pitch events for me to attend, I'm all for it. I want to do it, and that's about it. So those are the things, just to reiterate my lead metrics. And if anybody has any, in the next days, weeks, has things that would contribute to that, that would be super helpful.
Awesome. TC, would it be helpful for me to share this presentation with possible investors? Or would you like to, as like an intro, and then I would say, try to get an appointment with and connection. But there's a few that I know they're kind of sparse on time. I try to invite them to things. They rarely come to anything that I host, but we have conversations on the back end. And really, I think they just want me to give them people that I think would be beneficial to them to look into. But would this be adequate enough, this type of presentation?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the moment, I'm sending out that teaser, and I've more or less narrated the teaser. I'm presuming you would edit out just that section of when I'm going through the presentation, especially for people that are short on time. So yeah, that would be fantastic. You got the file. I did the presentation. I would probably use it for my own purposes as well.
Cool. So yeah, send over the file. I don't know that I do have the file, TC, but
the video file. You have the video.
Oh, the video file.
Yeah. And I can absolutely share it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. The teaser slides. I can share that with others as well. Mike, did you have something to say? You muted right there for a moment.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to see where I can share that article. I just found it, and from the LA Times. I'll figure it out.
Cool. Link to teaser. Open up my chat here. Awesome. All right. Any other thoughts? Any other helpful pieces that we can add to? Who knows investors in the room that we can possibly introduce TC to?
How much are they looking for?
I'm like, who even said that? No, there's Ethan. Yeah, the 250K.
I mean, what do you have that framework to ask? You need to know what you're offering, or is it just?
I don't know if I fully follow, but I know what I'm offering, and yeah.
Good. Yeah. I know a few. I'll link them into a conversation. I'd love to have a conversation with you first, kind of get a little better grasp on it, because I was kind of back and forth today. So
yeah, for sure.
See what I can do.
And also just for anybody that I'd love to stay in touch with all this stuff. If anybody wants to do a follow-up, feel free to just use my Calendly, or we can coordinate my the deck has my contact info that's in it, but also I'll just put in my my email address and also link to book if anybody would like to chat afterward. I love having conversations about this stuff. Marie Pierre, if any further thoughts you have, feedback, critical or otherwise positive, love having those conversations, and also would love to see if there's maybe an opportunity at some point down the road to maybe work together. Or I know you mentioned that you work with a bunch of small farms, and that's specifically what Landline wants to help, and a big part of that is coming at this from the perspective of Landline being mission focused to help specifically small farms, and also have that profit motivation aligned, wherein we're putting together business models that where Landline only benefits if the farmers that we're supporting are benefiting. So that's sort of the general idea.
Simple question. How are you finding these small farmers? I mean, one of the ways that I've been doing it is taking this motorcycle and driving around to different farms and communities, and meeting their neighbors and stuff too, specifically for small real estate deals. But I mean, how are you accessing these small farmers that don't know that they need to market their product direct to consumer, but instead currently sell commodities?
Literally doing exactly that. I think, as we mentioned, I'm actually putting a new front tire on my KLR after this, to go on this road show up through northern New Mexico, through Utah, Idaho, and Eastern Oregon. I have a list at this point of dozens of farmers market managers that I'm contacting in advance, and then going to do a fly through of those. And so I'm starting with farmers markets. It's kind of consolidation, mass, this type of thing. But one thing that I think is really interesting, which was one of my favorite stats, which I didn't mention, is that in the US, twice as much revenue is transacted on site at farm stands versus farmers markets. And so that in aggregate, the rural economy selling direct food per dollar is twice as much as what I guess the urban, what I like to refer to as the urban elites or coastal elites sort of take for granted as this like experience that they go to, where they like buy a fancy coffee and like a donut or something and stroll around and like look at the fresh flowers. So there's this whole other world out there of rural economies, and that's specifically what Landline wants to service as we're starting out.
Document this. Carrie was saying, I want to see pictures and stuff. So yeah, document this and make it a part of the story as you're building this out. I think it'll be really cool to be some of the startup story that you have as you kind of do this kind of grassroots thing. If you're coming across Utah on Saturday, there's a really good farmers market in downtown Salt Lake. I'm not sure if you're going to that one, but would love to maybe catch you there if you're going to be here Saturday. But yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to know help too. I'm going through the Tennessee right now, meeting with a bunch of different local farmers, and then through Arkansas and the Ozark Forest, all these local farmers in the Bible Belt there. And then I'm cutting my way back up through to Iowa, where my family's got a farm there, and then going down into the West Coast, starting at Colorado. So maybe we'll meet on the journey, take a bike ride together too. But let me know how I can also help tell these stories of farmers for you, or make an introduction so you can help to tell their story.
Yeah, that's great. Let's absolutely keep in touch.
Certainly.
I just want to say my supervisor is an investor, and he's very focused on carbon capture and sequestration at the moment, but I'm sure he knows a lot more venture capitalists and investors who might at least be interested in listening and giving feedback. I don't know how many people he knows, but I'm sure he at least would be willing to listen and give feedback. If I can reach out to him. I don't know, like he's starting like a climate related incubator. But as I said, he's really looking into carbon capture and that kind of carbon utilization and carbon sequestration technologies more than, you know, farming and agriculture, but at least for feedback, I'm sure he'd, you know, be interested. And you never know where things might go. So
The biggest carbon sink is the soil.
Soil, yeah.
yeah.
I would absolutely love that intro. You know, particularly people that regularly analyze what deals. It's what you refer to them, deals like these. You know, they always provide invaluable feedback. And I'm always coming away with something new, of kind of like, aha, like I sort of need to add this or modify this. And also, a lot of times they know other investors. So any intros, you know, this kind of like some of my best connections have been super long tail. That's been true for myself. I'm sure is probably true for all else. So if you know people that might be interested in talking about the project from any perspective, you know, like I said, my biggest constraint right now isn't just, you know, it's not specifically trying to raise money, because I'm also looking for partners. I want to partner with organizations that support farmers and make sure that what we're doing is supporting farmers. And so that's also a huge part of it.
Cool. Yeah. I'll shoot them an email and see if I can get that connections going for you.
Awesome. This is what it's all about. Again, this is, we haven't been doing a lot of our MOKR Masterminds. We're kind of closing up, so I'm going to kind of tell you what's, because there's a few people that are new today, what this group is largely been about. You know, Ray has given a MOKR Mastermind presentation. MP has given one. Now you have TC. I'm trying to think of anybody else on the call. There's a few new people here today. So what we essentially do on days like this is it's kind of a kickoff of a project, and they're going to be working on this. TC is going to be working on this. He's going to be letting us know how things are going, and we meet here weekly, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, which is my time, and of course all the other times, right? So we're here every single week as regenpreneurs, helping each other out in a peer-to-peer way. When we're not having this type of presentation, we are doing a think tank roundabout of the projects that we're currently working on. And so we talk about 3 or 4 different challenges that are coming up. So as TC gets to work on his stuff, there's going to be stuff that's going to come up, and he's going to be challenged in his work. And we're going to be a support group and a resource for him to work through those. You can do this as well. You could just be an observer and give feedback weekly, or you can sign up for a time to give your presentation. I will give this is how I've been doing it lately, just to give some time to you guys. Here's my calendar link. If you want to sign up to do something like TC has done today, to start a project, to work on something, reach out to me and we can schedule a time to talk about what that can be, what that can look like. So there's my link to my calendar. And yeah, love to hear from new projects, love to hear what you guys are doing, and love to support one another. I know TC, Ray, you know, Ethan, you've been on a few. MP's been here from the beginning. She's just been having other things going on, but it's always wonderful to see regenpreneurs doing their thing. And Mike, I would love to have you, because I know you've been doing some wonderful things in the space, and there's a lot that we can learn from you as well, because you've been in the business for a long time, and love to get your feedback, because you're very knowledgeable. Yeah, it's a great help to have you all. Any last words for the last 7 minutes? TC or anybody anybody that wants to add some words of encouragement for TC as he gets started on this project.
Don't stop.
I think it's really great that you're also prioritizing like farmers of color and just like not just, really, I think it's important for us to focus on, the people who don't already have opportunities as well as, I mean, not that rural white farmers don't, but I mean, if like you can find those Black farmers too and like really help those people as well. And I think it's cool that you mentioned the Vietnamese farmers, and that was really awesome. And maybe when you're pitching too, to really focus on that for people. And it's awesome.
Thanks. Also, through this group, I got connected with Safon, which is the, or through GRC, I should say, to the Southeastern African American Farmers Network. And I've also had conversations with Black farmers, the organization Black Farmers, and particularly they're super interested in doing this kind of what I alluded to, this like this app on content about how to farm, and that's something that I'm very interested in helping to facilitate from the broader perspective of public good. And so yeah, thank you for that feedback, and it's something that is really important to me.
A conversation I had today with Donnell Richards, who's very much in this space of helping low-income farmers, small farmers, and especially those in BIPOC communities. He is in the Midwest area, but he has learned how to navigate the federal system and funding system, and which might be another resource for you. You might not be going the traditional, you might not have to go the traditional route. And so he might be a good resource because he's brilliant on navigating those. You can reach out to me, and I can reach out to him, build that connection. You can also reach out to him directly just through LinkedIn, because that's essentially where I built my relationship with him as well. And he's really responsive. All right, we're gonna end it here, unless anybody else has anything else to say today. It's been wonderful. It's always fun to do this. If anybody wants to stay on for just a moment to ask questions about doing a MOKR, submitting a MOKR yourself, you're welcome to stay on, and I can chat to you about it. But thank you guys for attending today. We're here next week, same time.